Hi, everybody. Interesting little weekend going for me. I listened to videos by BAD JW Roundtable Discussions and JW Suicides, Kim and Mike. Listen to all those videos, all the discussions, dealing with the abuse that's going on in the organization. I started out a little over a year ago making videos about explaining to what happened to me at the age of 15 and 16 in the organization as far as my sexual assault and all of that. And what happened to me wasn't even by a fellow JW, but I was told the exact same things. Not to tell the police, not to tell anybody, don't talk about it to my friends, because they didn't want to tarnish the reputation of the organization. Well, back then they would say, what I was told was not to tarnish the reputation of the society, but that kind of got changed to the organization over the years. It was 36 years ago. But it sickens me. It really does. That they knew what they were doing back then. They tried to convince the public that they have done things about it, and that, oh yeah, that just doesn't happen in our organization. Those are just lies you're hearing. They try to tell you that the Australian Royal Commission was faked by apostates, and all the stuff you hear in the news is faked, and none of that's true. And come on, people. I know for a fact it was that way 36 years ago. It's that way now. It's worse now. They haven't done anything about it. It's gotten worse, not better. It's gotten a lot worse. I listen to people's story. All that stuff goes through in my head about what they said and did to me back then, and it really makes me want to cry, because it's still going on. And they can take a 12-year-old and cast them out of the organization and shun that 12-year-old because a 12-year-old didn't know how to fight back, didn't fight enough, didn't do more to protect herself, but I know that girls and young women in the organization are not taught how to protect themselves, because parents assume that things like that just don't happen in our organization. I don't know how many people I've talked to that profess to be JWs, and I've even seen it in other YouTube videos when people confront JWs, that they'll say, well, I've never experienced it, so it doesn't really matter to me. And that is the whole deal. If it doesn't happen to your kid, then it doesn't happen. They should, like Kim said, people should be outraged. People should be doing something about it instead of denying that it happens and refusing to do anything about it, destroying their paperwork. Saw a letter from 2007 to the German congregations about destroying all the notes and files they had on that, so that nobody could find them. And they did that in America. They did that all kinds of places. Destroy the notes, get rid of the proof, don't talk about it, don't say anything. And Jeffrey Jackson gets into court who, I'm sorry, but if any apostates in the whole entire world, if any of them had tried to fake the Australian Royal Commission, we'd be in jail or prison by now. How can you fake Jeffrey Jackson in front of the Australian Royal Commission on a government site by the Australian Royal Commission? I mean, come on. Really? There's so much denial and uncaring attitude amongst the Watchtower organization about what goes on. They want to deny it, brush it under the rug, pretend it doesn't happen, whatever. And Mike and Kim, like they said, they get email after email after email after email of people describing how they were victimized and treated so terribly by the people that represent the Watchtower organization. And those governing body members, they don't have a child that's been molested by an elder in the congregation, so they deny it happens. And they tell everybody else it doesn't happen. And they tell all the elders to tell everybody else it doesn't happen. But how many victims have to stand up before people say, yes, this is happening. The internet is here. Everybody's getting out here and saying that the same thing has been going on for years and years and years and years. You've done nothing. Watchtower has to do something. And if they don't, that just shows who they're actually run by. Because God wouldn't have anything to do with that. Nothing. They're not run by God. When they sit and they absolutely do nothing about the things that are happening or being said, you think the organization would call in all these people and want to know if what they're saying is the real truth or not. But they say nothing. They won't investigate it. They won't talk to these people who profess to be victims. They won't go over any paperwork. They won't talk to any elders or in fact, to find out in fact if they're doing those things or not. You know why? Because it is fact and they are doing it and they are telling their elders to do it. That's why it's written everywhere in Watchtower paperwork and books to the elders and organization books and everything else. If anything happens, call the organization first. They don't tell you, hey, if there's a kid being abused and a kid makes an accusation against somebody in the organization, they don't tell you, you better call child protection and call the police and let them handle it. And then we'll handle it from a congregational point. But they need to handle it as a criminal thing. They don't tell you that. They tell you not to tell the authorities. It's never handled as a criminal thing. And as far as handling it as a congregational thing, they really do poorly at that. How much evidence does a person need? How many people are out here on YouTube telling Jehovah's Witnesses and Watchtower Bible and Tract Society what is going wrong? And how long are they going to ignore it? It's wrong. You're losing people. People are leaving. People are seeing what you're doing. And everybody that's been victimized by the Watchtower Society in any shape or form is standing up and telling everybody in the whole entire world via the internet exactly what's going on inside that organization. It's going to fall. It's crumbling. The people are leaving. We've seen the flood of people out. Half the people in don't want to be there. They're just waiting for the opportune time to leave. They're waiting for family members to wake up so that they take their families with them. But there's lots of them that don't want to be there. And then they turn around and say, oh, our organization is growing. We're growing by a congregation a day. Yeah, right. You're shrinking by a congregation a day. How many times have I said, and it's true, anybody can see it's happening. Jehovah's Witnesses, you can see that it's happening. They take and close a congregation and they consolidate congregations into one kingdom hall. One kingdom hall, sorry. But they consolidate it, and then you wind up with 3 times the territory to be handled by one kingdom hall, and they can't handle it all because there's only one kingdom hall's worth of people. So Watchtower has progressively gotten it into cart witnessing, so they're not doing as much knocking on doors. And if Watchtower's watching my video, I want to tell him something. I've lived in the same house for 20 years, and I have only seen Jehovah's Witnesses come through my neighborhood 4 times. Now, I know 4 for sure. It might be 5, but I can't really say 5 because I don't think it would be honest. But for sure, 4 times in 20 years. And there's 2 kingdom halls in my town, and a Spanish hall that shares one of the English halls. So I know there's at least 3 congregations, maybe 4. There might be 2 congregations in each kingdom hall. But within my 50 miles of my house, there's 11 congregations listed on the internet. Some that are like 15, 16 miles from here. Then how come they've only been through my neighborhood 4 times in 20 years? They used to knock on my door, but I told them who I was and I don't want to come back. So that's probably why they don't knock on my door. But I'm out in the neighborhood all the time, doing yard work. I owned 5 houses here, so I was always out maintaining and doing maintenance on the houses in the neighborhood and stuff. And 4 times in 20 years, I saw them walk through this neighborhood. Fact. And there's no cart witnessing around here either. So I don't know where the Jehovah's Witnesses are doing their so-called field service, but it's not in my neighborhood. Why? If they're supposed to be going door to door and doing field service, then why aren't they through here at least once a year? Like I say, I left the organization long time ago. And I remember that they always said they tried to cover the territory at least once a year. Well, how come it's once every 5 years in my neighborhood when there's kingdom halls here? I don't understand that. Unless they're lying about field service hours. I don't know what they're doing. I don't. But I tell everybody that I talk to, if Jehovah's Witnesses knock on your door, tell them to go away. Don't talk to them. And I tell them why. So, I'm doing my own stuff while you're doing whatever you're doing. I saw Jehovah's Witnesses go by my friend's house one day, and I saw she walked back into the house with a watchtower and a pamphlet about something, and so I didn't tell her my experience. I went on YouTube and I showed her other people's experiences and what happened to them. And then I told her my experience. And I says, the best thing you can do is to stay away from them. And she goes, oh, thank you for telling me that. I didn't know. And that's what, I explained to everybody. I don't just give my experience because, I don't want it to sound like it's just that I have this vendetta against them. But, there's so many people out here speaking the truth about an organization that calls itself the truth. And I'm going to tell everybody again, even the people that are still members of Watchtower that watch my channel, calling your religion the truth is a trap. Because Jesus is the truth. The Bible says so. You read it yourself. Calling a religion the truth is a trap. And that's the first thing that you got trapped in. And now you're trapped completely because they have your family. And there's consequences. And most people are afraid of those consequences. And that's what traps them. But I'm telling you, this child abuse thing, Watchtower, if you watch these videos, you should be ashamed of yourself. Because if in fact these things are being told about you, you should be having an investigation into what's going on. And you do nothing. All you do is sit in denial and tell your people that whatever they hear is lies. It's not. I was there. I went through it. I know it's not a lie. And when I hear all these other stories that people tell, when I hear what they went through, I know it's not a lie. Because they were told the same awful things I was told. And if they hadn't been through that, they wouldn't know. And I know that they're all telling the truth. I know that Watchtower is a sneaky, lying organization. And I'm going to say that the rest of my life. Until I die. My last words on this earth might be Watchtower's a lie. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Well, anyway. Have a good day. I'm just sickened by Watchtower. I really am. Just sickened that they won't do anything, and they haven't done anything. You watch my video on my call to headquarters and my call to the Australian branch, and you'll hear it yourself that they lie. You'll hear it yourself. Guarantee you. Have a good Sunday, everybody. I'm going to my friend's house tomorrow. I'm going to relax, do some laundry. Talk to y'all later.